Hi there guys, it's Anthony here from Cutting Edge Guitar, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about whether you actually need guitar lessons. I think you'll find my response to this question quite interesting. Let's get right into it. Okay guys, this question has come out of a bit of debate that I've been having with some guitar players that I know, and I thought it would make an interesting video. So I know a lot of guitar players, people that I've gigged with over the years, some friends of mine from school and all that sort of thing, that they know full well that I am a guitar teacher. I have an online learning platform, books and all these things, and the questions come up like, do you even need guitar lessons? And I find it's a really interesting thing to talk about, because obviously I make a living doing this and people are going to expect me to say yes, absolutely, everyone should all have lessons and all that stuff. But I've recently done a different video that's sort of similar topic on do guitar lessons make a difference, and one of the things that I talked about a lot there is people like you can see on the wall behind me, Guthrie Govan, people like some of my favourite guitarists, Joe Satriani, Yngwie Malmsteen, Frank Gambale. Like, I'm personally interested in virtuoso guitar players, people who are of the highest order on the instrument. I mean, I like guitar playing generally across the board, but when I sit down to play on my own, that's the stuff that I want to play, because what keeps me interested in my hobby outside of my job is playing the hardest stuff I can possibly try and play, or what's hard for me at least anyway. So the whole thing about do you need lessons, this question I think is often asked by people who feel very, very insecure about their playing and are going, I know that I've got loads of problems. So you sort of, if you're thinking about having lessons, you're faced with two kind of options. If you've been playing guitar for 10 years or more and you're going, there's all these things that I don't know, and if you're thinking, do I need some lessons? I mean, the answer's obvious. It's staring you in the face, isn't it? Because if you've done 10 years and you haven't really got very far, or 20 years or 30 years and you haven't got very far, what makes you think that in another 10 years you're going to get somewhere? Like, on your own at least, anyway. Yeah, you probably need some lessons. And the thing is with stuff like that, I had lessons from almost the word go as a guitar player, so I have no problem with or had no problem with it as a student. In fact, once you start having lessons and you get results from them, you start to get to a point where you're like, well, actually, I'm enjoying this and I want more. Of course, as a 13-year-old who thought that they knew it all, I didn't want lessons. I wanted to do things on my own. I think a lot of guitar players do. They want to do things on their own. But I don't know, that seems a little bit like, it seems a bit silly, because it's like, it's hard doing it on your own. But then, you know, there'll be an opinion out there that's like, well, guitar lessons are expensive. Well, yes, they are. If you're paying for an hour of someone's time, or, you know, if you're buying online courses or joining memberships or whatever, there's always going to be a financial outlay. The thing that I would say to people like that, and I meet lots of them in my day-to-day career with what I do, is they're all walking around playing guitars that look and sound like this, and, you know, like, this is a couple of £1,000 off of instrument. Let's think about the logic here. What's the point in spending a couple of £1,000 on your instrument, but you won't spend the equivalent amount of money on the education of getting good at playing the damn thing? Like, there's no logic in that. There's no logic in it whatsoever. So, and, like, you know, that is something that I will say, like, as a guitar teacher, I find that's quite a frustration when you work with people that are very willing to go and spend 1,500 quid, 1,800 quid on a Kemper, which has got God knows how many amps and sounds and pedals and this, that and the other in it, that you don't need, and it certainly ain't going to make you a better guitarist. There's no button on your Kemper that makes you a good guitar player, but they'll go, no, I don't want to go and have an hour's guitar lesson. 50 quid, that's a lot of money. Like, what planet are you on? That's not a really good way of thinking. So, what I will say, though, because I think it's really important to take a balanced approach to this, is, and I said this in a different video, do guitar lessons make a difference? Some of my favourite players have been self-taught. People like Guthrie, people like Joe Satriani, they're self-taught. So, do you need guitar lessons? No, you might not need guitar lessons. If you've been playing for a couple of years, doing everything by ear, transcribing and figuring it out yourself, and you're getting somewhere. In fact, you could be awesome already. Like, you know, I've met plenty of 15, 16-year-old guitarists over the years that are really, really good at that point. They either don't need lessons if they really don't want them, or what I would also say with that is if they get lessons with the right teacher, you have to have a good teacher, you have to have someone who's capable of taking you on, those people can be phenomenal. Another thing that I'll say as well, with the whole self-taught players, like the Guthrie thing, he's completely self-taught, he's never taken a guitar lesson, but that doesn't mean that he hasn't used an educational product. So he's used books. I mean, he comes from that generation where books were the thing. Guitar books are obviously kind of ingrained in the psyche of players, that most people will have them. I think if you're absolutely adamant that you're going to be completely self-taught, you're going to struggle without at least some resources. I think guitar books are, well, I've done lists and lists galore of guitar books that I think people should own. I mean, I've written a couple because I think that they would be really useful and they'll help people. So guitar, like books, definitely. If you want to have subscriptions to things, I mean, for example, I run at Cutting Edge Guitar, I run a subscription service where you can learn all sorts of things. I mean, there's loads of them around the internet. So those sorts of things are useful. There's obviously YouTube videos which are free, like, you know, and if you're watching any of them, you're taking some kind of instruction. You're not completely self-taught. You're taking instruction from the stuff that you're seeing. I think we need to get it out of our heads as guitar players that it's a bad thing, you know, to go and take, like, it's much cooler if you do it on your own. And sometimes with the guitar as well, guitarists think it's cooler to not really know what you're doing. And I think that that's crap, to be quite honest with you. And people like Joe Satriani made it cool to know what you was doing anyway, way back when. We've dealt with all of that now. So if you're playing the guitar and you've been playing for any amount of time and you still don't know the notes on your fretboard, or you don't know any scales, and like that's a bugbear of mine, and I've done a video about this previously, this whole, oh, you don't need to learn scales and that sort of stuff. If you want to be any good, you've got to learn scales. And you've got to learn how to use them. It's not just about being able to play up and down shapes. Being able to play up and down shapes is pointless. You've got to be able to actually use scales and make music with them. But like I'm saying, like learning all of that stuff entirely on your own is really bloody hard to do. So trying to like get in some educational products that help you out with that stuff is massively advisable. And you know, because of the internet, it's never been easier to find that stuff. So talking of which, if you want to get involved with any of my educational products, all of the links are in the descriptions below. And that's probably about it for this video. So make sure you subscribe to the channel, check out everything at Cutting Edge Guitar, and I'll see you in another one. Take care, guys.